it's Ken Gagne with this week's IndieSider podcast, and I am playing Fight the Dragon by 3 Sprockets, a hack-and-slash dungeon crawler that focuses on multiplayer. And so, joining me to experience the multiplayer component is my friend Lorien Green. Hi, Lorien.
Top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning to you. It's a snowy day here in New England.
It is. It's better to be gaming than shoveling.
So I played this game a little bit before, and I have a level 2 character. I think he's some sort of an ice wizard. And I'm going to see if I can find you. I'm walking into the online multiplayer.
I think I see you. Level 2 ice wizard Kenny G.
That's me.
There we go. Classy.
Thanks. So oh, and there you are.
What's up?
You are Ravscuttle, a level 2 rogue.
Yes.
Excellent. So we are of similar levels here. So let's go on an adventure, which I believe happens right here. Go on an adventure. And
Now I wonder if we both have to do it.
We'll find out. Let's go. I'm going to a level called the Dig Site, and I chose Play Adventure. So I hope you get pulled in with me.
I have a feeling I might, because the ability to select that adventure thing went away when you had selected it.
Okay. I don't see... Oh,
there
you
go.
are. Great.
Huzzah.
Huzzah! So this is a sort of a minecart level. It's kind of not huge field of vision. We're getting attacked by some scarab beetles here. Oh, I'm already leveling up to level 3. I'm playing with my PlayStation 4 gamepad. What are you using?
Oh, check that out. I'm doing WASD right now. I just didn't plug in my gamepad.
Okay. Gloves of Fragility. I just picked those up.
Ooh, is this a team puzzle?
Or I think we can pick up a barrel over here.
Oh, good call, yep.
Because... So, square button on the PS4 to pick it up. Whoops.
Okay.
There we go.
There you go.
And now we can both
Brilliant.
get through. Uh-oh, what's this? Oh, it's the save point? Yep.
Yep.
So we have some camera control. We can move left and right, but I don't seem to be able to move the camera up and down to get or to close in and get a closer look. So I have not played a lot of games like this. The game that most comes to mind when I think of hack and slash dungeon crawler is Diablo. What does this game remind you of? What is this most similar to in your experience?
This actually reminds me of a game I played a long time ago called Fate.
Fate.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like design-wise, it reminds me of that. Sort of a more cartoony feel than Diablo. Your characters are a little bit bigger, but it's very similar to the Diablo style. It's pretty.
Yeah, I do like the look of it. And whoop. So I just...
Where did you go?
So if you come back to where we were previously fighting the beetles, I'm up here.
Yeah.
So you have to climb up the stairs behind you.
Oh.
Yep. And then if you come over here, your character will auto jump across the gap.
I was gonna say there isn't a jump button.
Correct. And we can't pick these up, but we can break them.
Break them.
Ta-da!
Smash.
Hulk smash!
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And
I actually kind of like that it auto jumps. Whoops! Except when you don't make the auto jump.
Can you actually fall down? Oh, you missed the jump?
Yeah, but I managed to do that.
Interesting. So even though it's jumping for you, you can still miss.
I am here for your entertainment. Alright.
So what is the rogue special ability? Like, what makes you unique?
It looked like that bomb I threw.
Okay. So you have a bomb button?
Yeah, I forget what the skills were, but yeah, when I right-clicked the button, I threw a bomb.
Because I have a button that I think... Oops. What do we do here?
Ooh. Oh, is that going to go off yet?
Ah!
Ow! Come
What?
on. I ran away from that.
We can't hit each other, can we?
No, I don't think so. Let's find out.
Nope.
Nope.
Good. So no friendly fire.
Yeah, that's ideal. Ooh, I found your monies.
Treasure chest. I found a red key, which opens up the red gate, so there we go.
There you go.
This game reminds me a little bit of Gauntlet. You remember that game?
I was just gonna say that if they like did a reimagining of Gauntlet, it might look very much like this.
Well, there is a new... Ow. That hurt.
There is new Gauntlet, isn't there?
Yeah, but it's for PC only, and since I'm a Mac gamer, I haven't gotten to try it yet.
Oh, well, maybe I'll have to check that out. Although, you know, I'm always kind of loyal to the classics. Like when they redid Leisure Suit Larry to have like new graphics, I actually didn't like that.
Oh, bomb. Ah. Yeah, I backed it on Kickstarter, the new Leisure Suit Larry, because I like the idea of bringing games back, and I love the new Shadowgate. I thought Shadowgate was excellent.
That looked amazing.
Now, whereas you have a bomb command, I think I have some sort of a shield.
Ooh, love it.
And I think
should perhaps be using that. Oh, wrong way. Misdirection.
Yeah, it seems hard to aim your bomb to make sure it goes where it's supposed to.
It's actually a little hard to aim your sword, too. I mean, it may be just a nuanced thing of, like, getting used to it.
Whoops. Okay, so you got some gold. Oh, you got the blue key. Excellent.
Yeah, I can't get at this gold.
Did you pick it up?
Ooh, that's a big sword. You want this big sword?
Where's
That's like a
sword?
Final Fantasy sword. I stole it.
Oh, okay. So you can probably like check it out afterward.
Yeah.
So let's see. That door needs a. Okay, I think that's the end of the level, maybe.
All right, let's check out our chests.
I got gloves of vigor.
Oh, I got gloves of laziness. It's so. Oh. How do they know?
Are you sure you want to end your adventure? Yes.
Oh wait, let me pick up your other loots here. Do you want this sword of fragility?
Oh, I missed something? No, you can have that.
Yeah, there's okay.
And there's a weak sword over here.
Oh, I got gloves of reliability. That's so not me.
I think we might be seeing different things here.
Oh, interesting.
Because I found a...
That would be interesting.
I found a weak sword in your treasure chest, and I didn't see...
Oh, you did?
And I didn't see any additional gloves over here.
I definitely picked that area clean where my chest was, so it sounds like maybe there's some kind of personalization there. That's kind of cool.
That way we're not necessarily competing for treasure.
Yeah, because if we were, like, my son would steal it all.
And also, probably different character classes get different kinds of things.
Oh, that's a good point, too.
So now we're teleporting back to the party home.
So that was a pretty smooth experience.
Yeah, it wasn't very high pace, though. There weren't a lot of enemies.
No.
But at this point in the game, you can actually change your equipment. You can see what it is you have. And so I'm going to change my gloves of fragility for my gloves of vigor, I think. I think I'm doing this. Nope.
Forget how I did this.
Let's see. I don't seem to be able to equip the gloves of vigor. Maybe it's not for me. I'm not sure.
Could be. Just loot.
Oh wait, it says... Oh well, whatever.
I can't remember how I got into that.
There's also a loot shrine where you can, I think, get rid of stuff. Pray at loot shrine.
Oh, here we go. Oh. Yeah, it's kind of deceptive. Like, the look and feel of the game itself is pretty, cartoony, but then, like, the actual inventory menu seems sort of more high-techy to me.
Have you gone to the dragon arena yet?
No.
I don't think I have the option to do that right now. Oh, I do. Do you have any dragon scrolls?
I don't think...
If you come over here, so follow me for a sec.
Okay.
If I have to get out of your menus.
Yeah. There we go.
And if you stand on here, it'll tell you if you have any dragon scrolls.
I don't think I do.
Okay. Because what that does is it puts you head-to-head with a red dragon who has 1 million hit points.
Oh my god.
And they give you 3 lives to defeat him, and he's going to tear you to pieces. But the thing is that every time you get another dragon scroll and another chance at attacking him, he carries over the damage from your last attempt at killing him.
Huh.
So the point...
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So the idea is, over time, you will have depleted all 1 million of his hit points.
I like that.
Yeah. Now, this game also features a lot of user-generated content where you can actually create your own levels, and there are thousands of levels available that are created by fans of this game. And the website for the game actually has a leaderboard that shows who is making the levels that are being played the most often. So you can compete in that respect. Yeah. Does Diablo have any sort of user-generated content like that?
Not that I know of. I mean, I mainly just played through, the main thing. It might on Battle.net, I'm not sure, but I don't think so. I've never heard of anything like that in there. I've actually never heard of, any game like this that has that kind of Minecraft-y building element, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, I wonder how long this game will survive using that mode. I mean, certainly providing user-generated content is a great idea, but relying on it, I wonder if the fans will step up Obviously, the creators of the game are providing some levels as well. The level we just
Yep.
played came with the game, so that there's something at least.
Yep.
But so these are all good questions for the developer, so let's bring him on board and ask some questions. We have summoned the dragon, and now we must face him head on. We are speaking with Mr. Seon Rozenblum, director and lead developer of 3 Sprockets, developer of Fight the Dragon. Hello, sir.
Hello. Hi, guys. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Very good.
So Lorien is here, we've had a great time playing your game. Thank you for the Steam codes. We were playing it online with or against each other.
Yep.
Awesome.
And one of the things that most struck us is the number of levels and designs that we have to choose from when we're deciding what level to play next. This game is very much focused on user-generated content, and just a quick look at fightthedragon.com reveals that that's very much a selling point that you're focusing on. That's quite a bit of faith that you showed in the player, though, relying on them to create so much content. How did you know that they would step forward and fill that gap?
Yeah, that was definitely a risk we took, especially considering that it doesn't take 5 minutes to put together an adventure. The last 3 games that we've made, like Fight the Dragon, Cubemen 2, and Cubemen 1, the original Cubemen, all had level editors inside them. The Cubemen 1 level editor actually shipped really late. I built it straight away so I could build my own levels, but the community was screaming for a level editor for a very long time before I agreed to release it. And then with Cubemen 2, we released a level editor straight away as part of the game. But you can whip up a level in 5 minutes inside Cubemen, where with Fight the Dragon, we have people who devote, 30, 40 hours on one adventure, just crafting the adventure. So we knew we were taking a risk relying on the whole game to revolve around user-generated content. But that wasn't actually a decision we made till after we hit our pre-alpha release. So originally our plan was to obviously augment the community adventures with our own, and we really started working on content straight away. But after we launched our pre-alpha, I think within the first week we had about 35 or 40 adventures from a very small group of community. They were obviously people that were more excited in the creation side than the gameplay side. And within our first month, we had about 150 adventures, which were as many as we thought we'd get in a year. So it straight away became clear to us that getting the community involved in creating content wasn't going to be a problem. And so we decided very early on to stop making our own content and just focus on community content.
That's cool.
You said that it took you a while to agree to release a level editor for Cubeman, so there was some hesitation at first, and now you've gone at 180 and fully embraced it. What was your original hesitation?
Well, firstly, the tool wasn't made for public consumption, so it was really rough around the edges, and it was fine for me to use, but it needed a lot of work to polish it, to make it, to take all the nuances out and make sure that people don't get corrupted data or lose any of their creation time. But also I was concerned about the level of quality that we'd get from the community. I was expecting at that stage that, a very small percentage of the levels would have been very good and the rest would have just been a square block of nothing. And it turned out that it was probably the other way around, that we probably had about 10 or 15% of, well, I won't call it rubbish, but you know what I mean, like, levels that we could have done without. But the majority of the community were actually investing a lot of time, and they ended up creating levels that were way more intricate than we ever planned for Cubemen 1, or that I'd ever planned. And I guess the same happened with Cubemen 2. Although we agreed to do a level editor straight away, we still saw the community building designs that were way better than what we were building and what we were thinking the editor would be used for. And once again, the same thing happened with Fight the Dragon. I mean, we had community members working out how they could build logic systems with our switches and gates, like to open and close gates, well before we had logic systems inside the game. Like, it's a lot of the tools and the features we've put into the construction kit in Fight the Dragon now were totally inspired by what the community were making without those tools. Yeah, we're big fans of building easy-to-use content, or easy-to-use creation tools so the community can build content. And that we obviously spent a lot of time in Fight the Dragon on that. Probably half of our development time was just on the creation kit.
And you've acknowledged your contributors through a variety of leaderboards on your website. What other sort of user engagement or incentives are you offering to get people creating?
Interestingly, we haven't added any. The creator leaderboards came quite late, and they were there I guess there's some creators that use them as incentives. They want to be on the top of the leaderboard, but they were really just a side effect of all of the stats we were collecting that we gave access to the creators for, so they could see in their dashboard, how many people have played their adventures and how many people have died and how many enemies were killed, how much loot and XP. There's quite a lot of data they get from the play data from the community. So it was just, the leaderboards were just why don't we just make a leaderboard type thing? Other than that, though, apart from some community members that have asked to be incentivized to build content, we haven't done it, and most of the community don't want it. They see the joy in just having their adventures played, which is a whole different issue we've got right now, which I'm happy to talk about later. Where we thought we'd have problems getting good adventures, where it actually turned out that we've got so much content and so much good content that we haven't had to worry about a reward system or anything else. Very early on, we were going to lock away advanced / or professional features inside the construction kit and only unlock them to creators who have done a really good job. And our community hated that idea. Like, we thought they'd love it. We thought, the fact that they could actually level up as a creator, not just as a character, would be a really cool thing. But it turned out that the community just wanted access to all those tools straight away. They didn't want to be hindered in their creativity. And so they actually asked us to remove that functionality, remove the whole leveling up as a creator idea. So, we probably spent months implementing that, and we just ripped it out one weekend.
Well, the customer is always right.
That's all right.
In this case, yes, they were definitely, it made sense. Like, we were hampering them.
So in gamification terms, it sounds like creating the levels for them was intrinsically rewarding versus extrinsically, and that's just sort of like, the holy grail. Like, then you don't have to build all those artificial rewards in. So that's awesome for you guys. So you had mentioned how super detailed people were as far as coming up with their different levels and stuff. Do you have any specific examples of really cool things you've seen people build so far?
Yeah, well, okay. Well, apart from the fact that in terms of just pure creativity, the way they've been combining, the different paint swatches and stuff we give them to come up with, for instance, we gave people the ability to do kind of snow environments or ice and sand, and the way they've been joining them together to build really immersive visual environments is blown us away. It's well beyond anything that we have tried creating ourselves. But my example with the switches and gates, so we didn't have the ability to have logic triggers and timed events inside the editor at the time, and people obviously wanted to not just make a dungeon to move around, but they wanted to have interactive objects where they could set off, a player could set off a chain of events like trapdoors opening and closing for puzzles. Mm-hmm. And this one guy built this system which pretty much broke our game, but that was fine. Where he worked out that a gate takes about a second to open and about half a second to close. And so he worked out a way where he could hook the trapdoor, this series of trapdoors, like this big room, and all it was trapdoors on the floor. And they were all hooked into these gates. And using timing of opening and closing on the gates, he had about 100 gates off to the side. And these switches, he could time the opening and closing of all these trapdoors to make it so the player had to quickly move between them. And if he wasn't quick enough, they'd open on him and he'd fall through the ground and die. But they were... Visually, it looked like there was a set of logic to them, which there actually wasn't. It was just happened to be the timing. And I don't know how long it took him to make it, and it would have been something very, very hard to do because our system wasn't set up to do it. And we were just blown away. We actually studied it, and it messed with our head. It looked like spaghetti inside the construction kit, the way it was hooked up. But it really galvanized us to want to add that type of functionality. And so we actually stopped what we were doing and started building all these new logic systems like events and triggers and actions. So people could do that exact thing but do it much easier.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So say I'm an aspiring dungeon builder myself. Where would I go to get started? To even, figure out the basics of this?
One of the interesting things, obviously we're biased, so we think we've got an awesome editor, but from day one of development, we wanted to make the whole game be fully compatible with a gamepad. This sounds off topic, but I'll get to the question. So we made sure that everything about the construction kit was really intuitive, and it looks like a really easy, oversimplified editor, although it's quite powerful, but it was designed to be really intuitive to understand. So one of the things we've been missing this whole time is really good documentation and help on the editor. And every time we look at doing it, we see how well the community have embraced it without all the documentation and help, that we never get around to doing it, and we just keep adding more features for them. So what we recommend to new creators is just jump in and start trying things. We think it's really simple and easy to use. You're either sculpting your environment, which is kind of like playing with Lego, or you're placing things on your environment like enemies, or you're hooking, you're putting props down, or hooking a door to a key. Everything's like really simplistic to use. And although we did post some videos on YouTube about some of the basic features in there, we found most people within like 5 or 10 minutes can have a basic dungeon up and running. You can also jump in and play test the adventure that you're making at any time inside the construction kit, and it puts you into full play mode. So you get enemies and you get loot drops and everything else, although you don't keep your loot. So you can actually, it's designed that you can build a little section, play test it, tweak it, build another add-on bit, play test it, tweak it. It's a very iterative design, unlike some other editors where you have to actually work externally from the game. So you need to build something and then you need to export it and then import it into the game. Mm-hmm. We came up with something that we felt was really quick, that you could iterate very quickly. And so far it's been fantastic.
So the game focuses very much on user-generated content, but the game is named Fight the Dragon after a 1 million hit point giant lizard. Why name the game Fight the Dragon, not something like, I don't know, Dungeon Craft?
That's interesting. We actually had a lot of talking at the start trying to come up with a name, and it's amazing how hard it is to find a name that has the word craft or build in it. And we didn't want to, we weren't a crafting game. Like, as soon as you say something like Dungeon Craft, to me, I think that I'm going to be mining and crafting things inside the game. We wanted to make sure that people understood that it was a construction kit. It's inside the game, but it's external. The game isn't the construction. The game is the RPG. And when we came up with that dragon idea, we know our name's quite literal, and it seems to be literal to only a small part of the game, but it really resonated with us because, I don't know, we think we've got a really cool... we think our dragon mechanic is quite cool and quite unique, in that there's a boss that you can go and fight whenever you want, and he's got persistent damage on it. It hasn't really been done before, not the way we have. Mm-hmm. So we thought that was a really key selling point of our game. It turns out that our construction side is just as compelling and just as fun, and people actually get not just enjoyment out of having built something, but enjoyment out of the building process, which is something that was unexpected for us. So by that stage it was too late. The game was named and it was already publicly out there. So maybe in hindsight, a Dragon Craft or something else would have been a better name. But we think the name's done us well. We've had a few people who've told us they didn't like the name, which we're okay with. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But when people hear that the term Fight the Dragon, they're immediately intrigued. What does that mean?
Yeah, I do like how you have that kind of elder game thing built into it. It does really add interest to the game itself that you're working towards that. I mean, I've only got 78 points in on that dragon. He likes to high-five me to death, but it's pretty cool. Coming from an MMO background where elder game is always a problem, it feels like you sort of solved the problem with that.
I mean, as you know, we're always in active development of the game. I like to see what else we can do with the dragon, exploring other things down the line. It's definitely an interesting concept for us. I mean, the community have already been asking for, different types of dragons to fight. We've got community members who've killed the dragon 100 times. We have a leaderboard and people are quite active in literally just sitting there for hours and hours on end, accumulating hundreds or thousands of dragon scrolls and then just going to kill the dragon. It's I personally don't have the patience myself to do that many times, but some of our community do.
Well, speaking of the kind of continued content development, I know that Fight the Dragon went into early access back in March of 2014, so almost a year ago now.
Yep.
And the feedback obviously has been good, but are you officially out of early access at this point, and how's that part of the community going for you?
Yeah, we officially launched December 4, our what we call version 1, which was, literally was just another update for us. Although it was a fairly big update, it was just another planned update. But we were in early access for about 9 months, and it was a really fantastic experience for us. we made a decision day one that we were going to do weekly updates, and I'm not talking about like here's a couple of bug fixes. Like if you look on the Steam forums at our update schedule since the very first update we did, it's been blood, sweat, and tears for us to actually maintain our weekly updates, but we committed to it and we did it. But we've also been really open and transparent with the community the whole way through. Probably a good third or 40% of the features in the game right now are direct requests from the community, or they've had complete control over how we would implement them. We've done 180-degree turns on a lot of our decisions during the whole early access process based on community feedback. We really used the opportunity to engage our community, which we felt is what early access was for. But it got to a point where not only were the weekly updates really killing us, but we had to put a line in the sand and say, we're not saying we've finished the game, but we need to say this is enough to launch. Like we had to see if the game had legs outside of early access. And so we worked towards our December 4 launch, and it was great. Great feedback. If you look at our reviews, I think we've got 550 odd reviews right now, and I think an 88 or 89% positive review rate, which is pretty good. And our community, we told our community, I said, this is our plan. Our plan is we're launching in December. Here are the things that we still want to do post 1.0. Understand it's not the end of our development, it's just another update. But we explained to them why we needed to launch, both financially and, it'd been 18 months by that stage. We needed to know if once we remove the whole stigma of early access, because that's still quite ripe out there, will the game actually work? Will it stand on its own 2 feet? Will the community outside early access adopt it? And yeah, they have. It's done really well. Well, okay, so we're not retiring. It hasn't done that well, so you know what I mean? But it's in terms
Game
of...
designers don't retire.
Or, you know what, I wouldn't mind. It's, Fight the Dragon's my 22nd game as an indie. So, I've been around since doing this full-time since 2006. So maybe I'm close to wanting to retire, or at least slow down. No more weekly updates would be nice. But we're really happy with the launch. And I think since then we've done about 4 or 5 big updates, and we've got lots more planned, including new platforms.
So you've obviously been around for a while, both as a gamer and as a game developer. When you were conceiving of Fight the Dragon, what were some of your inspirations? I mean, there are other fantasy RPGs like Diablo, there are multiplayer fantasy games like Lord of the Red Dragon, and there are game construction kits, more recently games like Little Big Planet, and going back into the 80s, if you want to talk about RPGs, TSR released Forgotten Realms, Unlimited Adventures. So what were some of your inspirations that you were trying to amalgamate all these ideas?
Many of the ones that you mentioned, plus, I didn't play a lot of actual paper D&D when I was younger because none of my friends were interested in it. So I always found it hard to find people to play with, although I had all the players and DM manuals and everything else on my shelf, I used to buy every new edition that came out and learn and read. I used to play a lot of board games like Talisman and Hero's Quest when I was younger, and definitely the TSR. The Forgotten Realms games. Used to play a lot of those, and the Bard's Tale when it first came out was kind of revolutionary for me, on the Amiga. I've always been a fan, and I'm a huge fan of fantasy sci-fi books as well. I've got 4 bookshelves in my bedroom, which my wife hates, full of all my books. She gets no bookshelf space at all, and I've just got 700 fantasy books on my shelf. So I always wanted to, I don't know, sometimes I think I was born in the wrong era. I wish I was born forever ago, back in those days. I mean, sure, that I'm not talking about dragons or sorcery, but if you know what I mean. I think I'm misplaced in time. So I've always wanted to build a game that had strong fantasy influences, but it's always been hard finding the right time to do it. Fight the Dragon ended up being perfect timing for me as a game developer because I had enough financial backing behind me to do it, and I had enough experience, and we were solidified on Steam because Fight the Dragon's our 3rd game on Steam, so we had that as a jumping platform, and we've got quite a good history and track record with Apple, although Fight the Dragon's not available on mobile. So it just became the right time to kind of do it. I play a lot of Diablo, an interesting decision we made to Fight the Dragon. One of the reasons I wanted to build it now was, I've got 2 young kids. So my daughter's 6 and my son's 3.5. And I have no time to play Diablo anymore. I mean, it takes an hour and a half to get to a next checkpoint to be able to save your game or save your progress. And notoriously, I'll be 10 minutes into, a section, a chapter, and my wife will call out to me saying she needs some help. Kids are screaming, fighting, or I need to bath them or feed them or put them to bed. And so I'm like a really time-poor game developer and game player. So one of the focuses with Fight the Dragon was it was all about short-form adventuring. We wanted people to be able to load up an adventure, play for anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes and get rewarded for it, and be able to either, load up another adventure if they have time, or walk away and have earned some progress and feel like they achieved something. And that was a very strong focus inside the game, which I think has been one of the positive outcomes. The fact that you can have a world map with 5,000, 10,000 adventures on it if you want, but you're not stuck having to play an hour or 2 hours at a time.
Now, I haven't played your previous 21 games, unfortunately. I apologize. But looking at YouTube videos of Cubemen, I can see sort of a family resemblance there. Does Fight the Dragon use some of the same code or some of the same engine as Cubemen?
It doesn't. It's all brand new code base and brand new editor and everything else. So I'm not a big believer in code reuse. I know, shock horror. All the developers out there are going to scream at me. But as you do things, you always find better ways and faster ways and more efficient ways of coding as you keep doing the same type of tasks again and again. But originally, Fight the Dragon was going to be a Cubemen RPG. We were going to try to, leverage the branding of Cubemen. But I think about 2 or 3 months into development, we decided that we wanted to break away from the branding instead and try to come up with a new brand and a new look and feel. But aesthetically, there is, our characters, they don't look cubey, but we definitely have gone for a stylized, low polygon look for all our characters in the game, and we've definitely got the cube-based sculpting inside the editor. It's just a style we're comfortable with, and we're a 2-man team on development of the whole game, plus a part-time artist. And so it's not like we had, a team of 5 or 6 artists who could do photorealistic work. We had to work within our means. So some of the decisions were based on what we thought we could achieve, and the rest was what we thought we were comfortable with. Most people like the aesthetic of the game. There are bits in the game that people look at and go, oh, definitely Cubemen inspired, but then some people think we're Minecraft inspired, and some people think we're Lego inspired. And some people don't like our style at all. We've had quite a few people tell us that our art looks worse than PlayStation 1 art. Whatever. Okay.
Well, your game isn't for those people.
Sure. Well, we'd like our game to be for everyone, but I learned early on that you can't please everyone, so there's no point trying. Just as long as you can please yourself as a developer, that's the most important thing.
You mentioned you have a good relationship with Apple, but beyond just the computer and mobile platforms, you also released Cubemen 2 for the Wii U this past September.
Yes.
Was that a positive enough experience that you would consider releasing other console games?
It was an interesting experience. I've worked on console before, externally from my own stuff, but this is the first time I've released one of my own titles on console. The Wii U was an interesting choice for us. Cubemen was a perfect fit for the Wii U because we didn't have to convert the game to run off a controller. We could use the gamepad and use the touch controls as well as... we could augment the game rather than replacing the control scheme. And that was a positive for us. And Nintendo were really open to allowing us to do the cross-platform content and the cross-platform multiplayer, which was a first for a Nintendo platform. I think, Cubemen 2 on the Wii U was the first game ever to do both cross-platform multiplayer and cross-platform user-generated content. So that was what got us over the line and made us decide to do it. Financially, obviously the Wii U is the least selling console out of the current gen now, and definitely out of the previous gen. So, we're definitely not retiring off the experience, but it was definitely a positive outlook. Now, in terms of Fight the Dragon, our plan, the game was built from the start to be completely console friendly. So Fight the Dragon is currently being developed for console. I'm not quite in a position to talk about how that's going to pan out yet, but it's definitely an active development right now for console.
That's exciting. I had a question. We were talking about, the origin of the title of Fight the Dragon, but where does the title of your company, Three Sprockets, where does that come from?
I get asked that a lot, actually. And you know what? Honestly, it's a nothing name. It was the actual company was set up for something else. It wasn't even set up for game development. But I had a previous game company called Sector 3, which I sold to another game company in Melbourne in 2009. And after my contract with them ended, I was kind of a free agent and I didn't know what to do with myself. And so I thought, well, let's start again. So I started another indie studio, and I happened to have that company sitting there doing nothing. So, I mean, that's it. That's as exciting as it is. It doesn't mean anything. There's two of us in the company, so it's not two Sprockets. And originally people used to tell me it was because it was my wife and my daughter and I, but now I've got a son as well, so there's, I could change the name to Four Sprockets, but it's just got no meaning.
That's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, it's a throwaway name.
That's cool, though. I mean, that's a fun origin story.
Yeah. My original company, Sector 3, that was, and again, there's a 3 in both companies, and there's no correlation to that. But when I did that Sector 3 name, I wanted something that was kind of like, an Area 51 or something. I wanted this obscure, sounding, like secret sounding type name. But I don't know where the Sprockets came from. It was just something.
Here's another question about your geography and your history. You mentioned that you sold your previous company to another institution in the area, and you're in Melbourne, Australia. And also in Melbourne, Australia is Adrian Moore of Love Shack, who created Framed, which was featured on a previous episode of IndieSider. And I've interviewed other developers from around the world, including 2 in Poland and 1 just recently in France. So that's a large portion of the IndieSider podcast that has gone beyond the bounds of the United States. So I'm wondering, are Americans losing the indie arms race?
Is there an indie arms race? Wow. Okay. That's interesting. I think there's definitely a AAA arms race, I think, still. I mean, obviously, you've got so much invested in the AAA space, these big studios. But there's a solidarity in the indie scene that's global, that it transcends the geography, I think. So I don't know. Maybe new indies have a different outlook, but most of I'll call us the old guard. I mean, obviously there are indies that have been around longer than I have, but I've been around for quite a while. Us old guard, we tend to think that we all work together. We want to share and we want to help each other, inspire each other to succeed. It's hard to really say that any of us are in competition with each other, because the global marketplace is massive. I mean, no matter how many developers there are still way more players than there are games out there. Although obviously the number of games being released daily now is massive compared to what it was 10 years ago. But the player base is also massive. So it's hard to, unless Joe Blow, who lives next to me, is making an RPG with a construction kit that's similar to mine, there's no competition between us all. So we tend to all work together, and if you go to a GDC or a Games Connect or somewhere else, you see, or a PAX even, where we're all in it together. There's definitely no arms race. That said, I mean, there are a lot of emerging spaces in the indie scene. The European market is definitely, there's a lot of really fantastic indies that have gone unknown or unheard of for a long time that are starting to emerge. And Australia is definitely on the world stage in terms of some really successful independent studios or individual people as well. I don't know, maybe a lot of the US-based media outlet are more interested in seeing what's happening outside of the US. I don't know. There seems to be some, for instance, the Hipster Whale guys, Matt and Andy, I mean, with Crossy Road. I mean, that's it's becoming an absolute cult phenomenon now. I mean, I can't think of the last company that did something like that was like a 1 or 2 man indie team. So, but I don't think there's anything in our water, for instance, that's making us better developers. Maybe our beer, I don't know.
Yeah, well.
Well, I think it's great wherever these games are coming from, because I have another podcast all about equality and diversity and how games can be used to tell different kinds of stories that you don't get if you're only getting games made by a specific demographic. And so it's wonderful to see games coming from all the corners of the earth.
It's well, obviously making games is easier now in terms of the tools available to us. Obviously getting seen and discovered is harder than it's ever been because of the number of games and the people vying for let's play space or press space. But in terms of people being able to express their creativity, whether it's development or artistically through games, it's never been easier. And it's as a world, we're all connected much closer than we've ever been due to the internet and social media. So I think it's a win for everyone, and the range of diverse games like styles and genres out there is also increasing. From not just it used to be about either serious games or playful games, and now people are telling really strong stories, or games about life or games about tragedy. It's really inspiring. Obviously, I don't know. I seem to hover towards strategy / or creativity based games where people can actually build their own content and express themselves inside our game. But I definitely give kudos to all the developers out there that are trying to take on something more serious. Definitely inspiring.
We are so lucky the state of the industry at this point. And I always like to think about, if I could go back in time and tell my young self like what it was going to be like, back then just being sort of like a geeky little kid playing games and it wasn't popular, I would have been so excited. You could not imagine where things were going to go at this point.
I was going to say, like, even today, I can't even imagine where things could go in another 5 years, let alone the next 12 months.
I know, it's exciting. So, like, in that vein, what's next for you guys? I mean...
Yeah, that's a really good question. We've got, Cubeman 3, Fight the Dragon 2. No, neither of those. We're still actively working on Fight the Dragon, and we're currently prototyping some other game ideas. It's, we don't know, to be honest with you, and it's been a question I've been asking myself for a little while. We tend to kind of fall into what's next and realise this is what's next after we subconsciously made that decision. We're always prototyping, discussing ideas. You can't not. I mean, it's as a developer, one of our biggest problems for an indie is you've always got too many ideas and not enough time to work on them or try them out. So the ultimate question, though, is what ideas are worth doing, what ideas are, which ones have a chance to be both commercially successful and can fulfill, actually pan out and be enjoyable to make and enjoyable to play. I'm a strong believer in the whole, it's okay to be making games to make money. At the end of the day, there's this camp of people that think that it's only about a creative outlet and making money is secondary. And it is secondary. I mean, if you do what you love, generally things fall into place quite well. But at the end of the day, I need to feed my kids, I need to pay my mortgage. I've chosen games as a career and it has to be financially viable for me, otherwise I can't do what I want to do. So that commercial element is always there, it's always hanging over my head. And obviously, a game like Fight the Dragon is the biggest game we've ever made. It was 18 months in development before we launched, and it's probably got another 6 months worth of ongoing active development time on it. I mean, that's a huge financial commitment. Huge. So, we need to make sure that we can actually make money back off the titles we make.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, it sounds like you're on the right path. This game seems to be doing pretty well, and I hope it continues to do so.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's been great having the opportunity to chat with you and play your game and learn more about it. We already mentioned that the game is available on fightthedragon.com. Where else can our listeners find you and your company online?
We've got 3sprockets.com, but we really don't spend a lot of time on there right now. And at 3sprockets on Twitter. We've got a Facebook page, 3sprockets. /3sprockets and /Fight the Dragon. But right now we tend to spend most of our time either on Twitter or on the Steam community forums because that's where our biggest player base is. As we start moving into other platforms, we'll need to start working out where we're going to get our community to congregate. We probably shouldn't have kept everyone on Steam for so long, but it's just a convenient place for us. But definitely in Twitter and Facebook we're around, and we're always happy to chat. I tell people in the Steam community I'm always happy to accept friend requests, and if I can chat, I'll chat with people. if I'm busy, I'll let them know I'm busy.
Wonderful. Well, if your user-generated content is any indication, you have a great community already.
Thank you. Thank you. We do. We have a pretty awesome community. The game wouldn't be where it is today without them, so we're definitely appreciative.
Well, thank you for your game, and thank you again for your time, Seon. It's been a pleasure.
It
Thanks,
has been a
guys.
pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. See ya.